Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 55 based on novel. So let's start. Evil black chi that could cover the sky and land swept out from under the volcano. Under the corrosion of this black chi, the volcano created from the 8 burning sky gates started to dissolve at an astonishing rate. Whoosh! This continued for several minutes before 3 black rays of light shot out from the base of the volcano, directly piercing through the volcano itself. 3 figures slowly surfaced within the black rays of light. A grave expression appeared on Lin Dong's face as he stared at the 3 figures within the black light. These figures were the Hu Yuan trio. However, at this moment, the trio was completely different from before. The eyes of the trio had sunk in quite a bit while evil black chi filled their pupils. In addition, black patterns extended across their faces and any uncovered skin like spider webs. When seen from afar, it gave the trio a strange and sinister feeling. Following the appearance of these to their bodies, the auras of the Hu Yuan trio also became extremely dark and evil. At the same time, the power radiating from them grew much stronger than before. Heh, Lin Dong. To have forced us to activate the Devil Seed, you truly have some ability. Black patterns covered Hu Yuan's face as he stared at Lin Dong in a ghastly and eerie manner. A strange chilling smile rose from the corners of his mouth as he slowly spoke. Lin Dong indifferently gazed upon the transformed trio. Although he did not know what the Devil Seed Hu Yuan spoke about was, the level of vigilance within his heart was raised to a higher level. He felt danger from the bodies of the current Hu Yuan trio. Bang! Lin Dong extended his hand and suddenly clenched it. The 8 burning sky gates in the sky slowly started to revolve once again as scorching and rampaging fluctuations continuously surged from them. Swish! The 8 burning sky gates violently jerked. Scarlet red light blossomed as 8 scarlet red rays abruptly shot out from within each gate. Akin 8 streams of lava that linked the heavens to the earth, they shot towards the Hu Yuan trio at lightning speed. Looks of amusement appeared on the faces of the trio as they looked at Lin Dong's attack. Curled fingers were thrust forward as 3 rays of black light instantly shot out, before transforming into a black light net in the air. Kai Kai! As the fiery lava pillars smashed against the black light net, ear-piercing sounds instant rang out. White smoke rose into the sky, and one could see that the berserk fiery lava pillars were unexpectedly unable to break the black light net. Since you have forced us to use our greatest secret, do you think that you will still be able to live past today? Li Lei grinned at Lin Dong. His smile was sinister and eerie. Soon after, he stepped forward as numerous afterimages appeared in a flash. His body had pierced through the scarlet red light screen in a ghost-like manner and appeared in front of Lin Dong as he grabbed at the latter. As Li Lei's palm swept forth, Lin Dong discovered that the hands of the former seemed to have grown a size larger. His 5 slender fingers were like blades and black light swirled at his fingertips. It seemed as if even space itself was sliced apart. Looking at this spectre-like attack from Li Lei, Lin Dong clenched his hand as the lightning emperor scepter appeared in a flash. Tilting his body forward, he sent it smashing heavily against Li Lei's incoming claw. Bang! A low and deep sound resounded. Lightning bolts erupted berserkly from the lightning emperor scepter, continuously defending against the corrosive black chi from Li Lei's palm. Rumble! The gigantic force transmitted from the body of the scepter caused Lin Dong's eyes to slightly harden. With a jerk of the scepter, it left behind an afterimage as it swiftly thrust at Li Lei's fatal points. However, in the face of Lin Dong's attack, Li Lei didn't show any signs of evading. His slender blade-like hands directly clashed against the lightning emperor scepter, causing sparks to fly as they shot out in all directions. The berserk force caused space to become somewhat distorted. After activating the so-called Devil Seed, the strength of this Li Lei had already exceeded the boundary of an ordinary initial profound death stage expert. In fact, it had already touched the advanced profound death stage. Due to this, even the current Lin Dong was unable to be as calm as before. Swish swish. Moreover, while Lin Dong was busy with Li Lei, the remaining 2 had completely destroyed the array that previously enveloped them. Their bodies swept forth and appeared on the left and right of Lin Dong. Their eyes were filled with mockery and cold maliciousness. Lin Dong, just dealing with one of us is already your limit. If the two of us were to also enter the fight, how will you survive? Hu Yuan softly spoke in a mocking tone as he grinned at Lin Dong, who was engaging in a bitter fight with Li Lei. Scram! Lin Dong's gaze turned grim as he suddenly took a step forward. 30 green dragon light tattoos burst out from his body while resplendent lightning flickered on the lightning emperor scepter. The 30 green dragon light tattoos adhered themselves to the lightning emperor scepter, and with the sound of deafening thunder, it smashed against the black cheek-crossed arms of Li Lei at lightning speed. Boom! A low and deep sound resounded out as an energy wave that was visible to the naked eye rippled outwards. Li Lei was sent flew dozens of meters backwards while fresh blood dripped from his arms that were as tough as steel. After pushing Li Lei back with a swing of his scepter, without being about to follow and pursue him, piercing whoosh sounds suddenly emerged from Lin Dong's back. Two exceedingly swift and fierce forces headed straight for his vitals. Obviously, the other two had already attacked. Sensing the swift and fierce attacks from behind, Lin Dong's expression instantly sunk. He swung the lightning emperor scepter in a wide arc as a lightning dragon scepter image flew out, viciously clashing against the two incoming forces. Bang! Lightning rampaged while Lin Dong took the chance to retreat. In the next instant, the Hu Yuan duo floated out from the lightning. Mocking looks were revealed on their faces as they stared at Lin Dong and said, "Stop your meaningless resistance. Yimo Chi isn't something that ordinary Yuan power can defend against. These attacks of yours are simply unable to break through the Yimo Chi within our bodies." Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 58 based on novel. So let's start. The brown-clothed man sat on the railing in an indifferent fashion while holding onto a jar of wine. He swayed gently and looked at Lin Dong nonchalantly. Although he did not utter a single word, there was an aura that caused one's heart to palpitate radiating from him. Everyone in the building turned to look at that man. The expressions in some of their eyes changed gently while their expressions turned grave. All the above signs indicated that this man was no ordinary individual. Big Brother Ching Teng. A somewhat miserable-looking Huang Ling looked at the man. There was a wild joy surging in his eyes as he hurriedly called out, "Ching Teng?" Lin Dong's heart shook slightly upon hearing this. Only then did he realize the other party's background. Fourth on the rookie list, illusion demon Ching Teng. At this moment, some low exclamations had also begun to spread softly across the building. Clearly, Ching Teng was quite famous. In fact, even in here, a place filled with numerous powerful experts, his name still carried quite a shocking deterrence. "Friend, you know your limits even if you wish to teach others a lesson." Ching Teng stared indifferent at Lin Dong and spoke in a faint voice. "I do not like to look for trouble. However, I don't mind eradicating problems if they comes knocking on my door." Lin Dong's tone was equally indifferent and he did not feel the slightest bit of fear because of the other party's identity. A little arrogant. But then again, you possess the ability to do so. Ching Teng turned his head to look at a bloody and miserable-looking Huang Ling. He shook his head and said, "Initially, I did not want to get involved in this matter. However, I do have a relationship with him. Why don't you apologize to him and we can pretend nothing has happened? What do you say?" Lin Dong smiled upon hearing this. He immediately shook his head and softly replied, "I don't think so. Let's rely on our own abilities then." Ching Teng muttered to himself. Clearly, he was not surprised by Lin Dong's reply. Immediately, he stood up in front of many pairs of eyes. His body trembled slightly and there seemed to be a shocking sharpness slowly spreading from him. Everyone lifted their brow upon seeing this. It seems like Ching Teng was planning to intervene and help Huang Ling exact revenge. That fellow truly had a wide network. Ching Teng walked towards Lin Dong. A majestic aura rose and swept from within the former's body like a storm. Lin Dong's expression was calm as he looked at Ching Teng, who was slowly approaching him. A green light had also swiftly surged from deep within his eyes. He could sense that Ching Teng was quite powerful. Bang! Ching Teng's footsteps paused around 10 feet or so from Lin Dong. It seemed like even the surrounding air had solidified when his footsteps sounded. It seems like you are quite fast. Coincidentally, this is also something that I specialize in. I wonder who is faster if we were to compare the both of us. Ching Teng laughed towards Lin Dong. Lin Dong's eyes suddenly hardened the moment Ching Teng's laughter sounded. His body suddenly trembled. Bang! A sharp palm suddenly appeared behind Lin Dong. After which, it slammed down ruthlessly and struck his back with lightning-like speed. Swish! The palm once again missed. After which, Lin Dong's body slowly vanished. He was already behind the palm when he next appeared. After which, his leg ruthlessly swung forward in a mountain-splitting manner. Boom! An arm appeared and blocked Lin Dong's sharp kick. A shocking wind spread and both figures took a couple of steps backwards. What swift speed! The many experts within the building watched the two experts exchanging blows in a phantom-like fashion before their eyes became a little more grave. That was because they did not manage to spot the attacks from those two previously. You are actually able to keep up with my speed. Impressive. Ching Teng's eyes contained a strange expression as he stared at Lin Dong. His speed was considered quite outstanding even amongst the top 10 on the rookie list. However, it seems like Lin Dong also specialized in this aspect as well. I am getting even more curious now. Ching Teng laughed as an excitement rose within his eyes. He quickly took a stride forward. Mighty Yuan power surged. Clearly, he intended to use his true abilities. Lin Dong's hand slowly tightened after seeing this. A sharp expression also rose in his eyes as he stared at Ching Teng. You too, this place is used by my Flame Divine Hall to welcome various powerful individuals from all over the world. Isn't it a little inappropriate for the both of you to fight here? However, a lovely silver bell-like voice suddenly sounded within the place, as those two were about to attack again amidst a tense atmosphere. Many pairs of eyes within the building quickly shifted in the direction of the voice. They subsequently saw a large group of guards wearing bright red armor, suddenly surging over from the direction of the main entrance to the building. A well-proportioned beauty stood in front of those guards. The lady was wearing a red soft armor which firmly adhered onto her body. It outlined her sexy curves, causing a bright glint to flash across the eyes of many in the building. Her slightly curvy red hair reached her waist, causing her to appear somewhat enchanting. She also had an extremely pretty face, with her eyebrows like a picture and her skin like snow. This lady was truly attractive. However, there was a heroic aura that was not inferior to that of a man, on her brow. The temptation brought about from the mixture of her heroic aura and enchantment clearly caused the hearts of many men to pound. Ah, an important person has appeared. The blue-clothed man on the upper story smilingly looked at this fiery red figure, who had attracted the attention of everyone present. Feelings of attraction flashed across his usually indifferent eyes. This little grandaunt is not someone to be trifled with. The grey-clothed man at the side also parted his mouth. His tone contained wariness. After a brief silence in the place, many private conversations quickly began to spread. This time around, it seemed like the topic of conversation was centered on the red-armored beauty. She must be the Flame Fairy, Tang Lian from the Flame Divine Hall? She is indeed a great beauty. It is rumored that she is the first disciple of Mo Luo and he is extremely pleased with her. Who knows, she might even become the successor of the Flame Divine Hall in the future. That's right, whoever is fancied by this beauty would basically reach the top in a single step. How can any ordinary man tame such a woman? Lin Dong was a little surprised as he looked at that hot and beautiful lady, after hearing the conversations around him. It was unexpected that the second individual on the rookie list was actually this gorgeous. Ha ha, it is unexpected that even Miss Tang has appeared, Ching Teng quickly laughed. His expression was slightly altered in the face of Tang Lian's appearance. Ching Teng, this is not a place whereby you can act wantonly. That's right, you done fighting? Tang Lian glanced at Ching Teng and laughed in a delicate voice. Ching Teng laughed dryly after seeing Tang Lian's smile. he said, since Miss Tang has spoken, the matter today will naturally end here. He turned towards Lin Dong as he said. He shrugged his shoulder. We will likely have the opportunity to meet in the upcoming competition. At that time, I shall have a taste of your full strength. I am always ready for a fight. Lin Dong smiled, but he did not give in. Ching Teng stared at Lin Dong. A moment later, he smiled faintly and waved his hand towards an extremely dissatisfied Huang Ling. The latter could only nod upon seeing this. Since even Tang Xinlian had appeared, it was natural that he had better not cause any more trouble. Lin Dong, you all right? At this moment, Ji Yumengqi and the other women surrounded Lin Dong. Their beautiful eyes were filled with worry. Lin Dong smiled and waved his hand. He was just about to speak when he saw out of the corner of his eyes, Tang Xinlian gently shifting her footsteps and walking towards him. Tang Xinlian was undoubtedly the focus of attention within this building. Hence, everyone lifted their brows when they saw that not only did she fail to leave after stopping the fight, she had chosen to walk towards Lin Dong. Hence, their faint voices died down as their eyes glanced partially in that direction. Tang Xinlian paused in front of Lin Dong. Her bright eyes were focused on the latter. Miss Tang, what is the matter? Lin Dong felt a little uneasy because of her unrestrained glare. He quickly laughed dryly and asked, Are you that Lin Dong? Tang Xinlian lifted her beautiful brow and inquired. I am indeed Lin Dong. However, I do not know if I am the person you speak of. Lin Dong narrowed his eyes. Why is it that he could detect an unfriendly tone in this lady's voice? Isn't this the first time that they met? Master says that you are quite powerful. Tang Xinlian's eyes scanned across Lin Dong as she spoke in a somewhat jealous tone. However, I don't see it. Lin Dong was speechless. It seems like this lady was unhappy about the evaluation that Mo Luo had given him. Follow me. Master wants to see you. Tang Xinlian stretched her waist, which could cause one to salivate. She gave Lin Dong a bewitching smile before turning around to leave. At the same time, she left Lin Dong an image of her tall, narrow and alluring back. As Lin Dong stared at Tang Xinlian's alluring figure, he felt slightly startled. Mo Luo was truly well informed. It has only been a while since he arrived at Fiery Flame City, yet his presence was already detected by Mo Luo. Those surrounding powerful individuals also had somewhat startled expressions in their eyes as they stared at Lin Dong. Clearly, they did not expect him to be related to Mo Luo. Let's go. Lin Dong smilingly said to the stunned faces of the Ji Yumengqi trio. He had created such a huge commotion here. Hence, he felt apprehensive about leaving them behind in this place. Lin Dong lifted his feet and followed Tang Xinlian after his voice sounded. The Ji Yumengqi trio hesitated for a moment before quickly following behind him. Some noise spread from the building after the group left in a decisive fashion. It was likely that they were trying to deduce the relationship between Lin Dong and Mo Luo. This is really unexpected. Elder Mo Luo actually wants to meet Lin Dong alone, the blue-clothed man on the upper story said while observing this scene with some shock. It seems like this Lin Dong is no ordinary individual. Standing beside him, the grey-clothed voiced his thoughts in a solemn tone. The show's over, let's leave as well. It seems like the competition this time around will be quite interesting. The allure of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol is truly extraordinary. The blue-clothed man stood up and laughed before suddenly turning around and leave. After the show in the building came to an end, the atmosphere also regained its initial liveliness. A figure, who was wrapped in a black robe, ate and drank at an unnoticeable corner without due concern of his surroundings. It seems like the previous commotion in the building had failed to attract his attention. Lin Dong. A seemingly hoarse voice was suddenly emitted from under his black robe. After which, he lifted his head a little. A corner of his face was exposed under the black robe. However, there was a black piece of cloth which covered his face and it made him look relatively mysterious. Oh! Has he arrived? A light suddenly flashed in his eyes as he muttered to himself. His eyes slowly hardened. Gently lowering the wine cup in his hand, he directly turned towards the window of the building and flew out. Finally, he swiftly disappeared in the night sky. Lin Dong once again met Mo Luo in a majestic large hall. The latter did not experience much changes during these 2 months. However, perhaps it was because they were in the Flame Divine Hall, the mighty aura on his brow seemed to have become denser. As Lin Dong followed Tang Lian and walked in, Mo Luo's gaze turned slightly distracted as he looked at the youthful figure wearing a smile on his face. For a moment, he grew slightly absent-minded, as he felt two extremely enormous and familiar energies within Lin Dong's body. They were the devouring ancestral symbol and the thunderbolt ancestral symbol. "This fellow, you actually managed to succeed," with a sigh, Mo Luo slowly said. "It's all thanks to Elder Mo Lu." Lin Dong replied with sincerity while cupping his hands towards the former. Although Mo Lu had obstructed him by challenging him to receive 3 moves from him, he was keenly aware in his heart that if Mo Lu truly did not want him to obtain the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, regardless of him risking his life, he would be unable to change the final outcome. Regardless of how powerful his trump cards were, it couldn't bridge the enormous gap between them. "You were able to receive 3 strikes from me. If I didn't give way, I wouldn't have anywhere to hang my old face. In fact, Ching Ji and the rest might even start laughing at me." A smile surfaced on Mo Luo. From the looks of it, he was extremely satisfied with Lin Dong's performance that day. Standing beside him, Tang Lian looked at Lin Dong with eyes brimming with suspicion. She was truly unable to believe that Lin Dong was able to receive 3 strikes from Mo Luo. Furthermore, she was clear about Mo Luo's character and knew exactly why he had headed to the Heavenly Lightning Sea region. Therefore, he would definitely pull all stops in such a matter. However, even in such a situation, Lin Dong successfully received 3 strikes from him. If news of this matter were to be transmitted, Lin Dong's ranking on the rookie list might immediately jump to the top 3 immediately. Lin Dong naturally sensed the suspicion within Tang Lian's eyes. Regardlessly, he didn't elaborate any further. Turning his head, he asked, "Was Senior Ching Ji here?" Lin Dong always felt tremendous respect and gratefulness in his heart towards Ching Ji. After all, disregarding the green heavens materialized dragon skill for which he was still reaping its benefits, the kindness and favor shown by him by saving the 3 brothers during the final moment in the unique Devil City was something that Lin Dong will always remember. He has not arrived yet. Due to the importance of this plan, we have to do our utmost to get as much assistance as possible. Mo Luo replied while nodding his head. Turning to look at Lin Dong, he spoke out with a smile, "Are you here to retrieve the Thunderbolt essence?" Feeling awkward, Lin Dong nodded his head and replied in a self-mocking tone, "Don't worry, Elder Mo Lu, I'll follow the rules you set. At the very least, I'll wait till the competition ends before I retrieve the lightning essence. If we were to go by the rules, you will have to become the champion in order to claim the lightning essence." Mo Luo replied with a hearty chuckle before proceeding to speak out in a deep and solemn voice. "Oh." Lin Dong was faintly startled. "You should also be keenly aware of the plan this time. Before luring out the truly powerful Yimos, I don't want anyone else to know that the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol is fake," Mo Luo continued. "What Elder Mo Luo is trying to say is, according to the information that we've obtained, the Yimos won't easily show themselves. Hence, there's a high possibility that they will hide within the bodies of humans, before using ordinary methods to enter the competition. After which, they will defeat everyone else and obtain the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol." Lin Dong's pupils instantly contracted as he recalled the Hu Yuan trio. There seemed to be so-called devil seeds hidden within their bodies, and those objects gave them immense strength. If it was not because Lin Dong had the power of 2 great ancestral symbols, there was a higher likelihood of him being killed by those 3 instead. There are too many experts participating in this competition, and we're unable to conduct an overly extensive screening. Therefore, if we allow those individuals with Yimos hiding within them to become the champion, the authenticity of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol would be exposed, and so would our plan. If that happens, our objective of luring out the heavyweight Yimo will definitely fail as a result, Mo Luo said in a deep voice. Therefore, we must let a normal human clinch the champion, and use this as a pretext to force those Yimos hiding in the dark to show themselves and try to snatch it. A faint wrinkle appeared on Lin Dong's forehead, before gently nodding his head. Turning his gaze towards the sexy and alluring Tang Lian beside him, he spoke out, "A matter like clinching the champion, Miss Tang should be the favorite." Indeed, Lian does have the qualifications to clinch the champion. However, it's still no guarantee. Mo Luo spoke out, while slowly shaking his head. Hearing that, Tang Lian's lips twitched. It was as though she wanted to say something. However, in the end, she chose to remain silent. No guarantee. Lin Dong's eyes flashed, before replying in a soft voice. Does Elder Mo Luo know something else that we don't? There is no need to doubt Tang Lian's strength. As the second-ranked member on the rookie list, this was sufficient to prove her strength. In fact, even Lin Dong would have a rather tough time if he were to face her in a fight. However, Mo Luo still said that her powers were insufficient to guarantee their victory. What exactly was he hiding behind his words? At this moment, Mo Luo's gaze grew much more gloomy. After pondering for a while, he replied with a low and deep voice, "I suspect that there's something amiss about the top-ranked individual on the rookie list, the faceless person, Xu Xiu." Lin Dong's gaze instantly contracted. Promptly, he began to ponder in silence. It seems like the standard of this competition had slightly exceeded his expectations. "Master, if Xu Xiu is so problematic, I'm afraid that even Lin Dong would not be able to gain much of an advantage." Unable to bear it anymore, Tang Lian spoke out. She didn't want to be seen as inferior to Lin Dong within Mo Luo's eye. "Ha ha, Elder Mo Luo. What Miss Tang said is indeed true. If she's unable to restrain that Xu Xiu, I'm afraid that it'll be unbearable for me too. I'm merely at the perfect profound life stage. How can I possibly compare myself to them?" Lin Dong knew that this lass was proud and arrogant. Hence, he replied immediately with a smile. "In front of me, there is no need to hide and conceal yourself. Do you really think you can hide your true strength from me?" Mo Luo stopped commenting. Proceeding to stare at Tang Lian, he spoke out in a deep voice, "This is an important plan and I won't accept any childish behavior from you." Feeling slightly wronged, Tang Lian whined. However, the defiant expression in her eyes grew increasingly thick. Feeling helpless, Lin Dong hesitated for a moment. Shaking his head in helplessness, he spoke out, "If I were to meet that Xu Xiu, I'll try my best to stop him." Hearing his words, Mo Luo finally gave a smile while nodding his head. Patting the back of his chair, after a slight moment of hesitation, he spoke out, "In addition, from the information I've obtained, there are other besides Xu Xiu that we have to pay attention to. In particular, we've to pay attention to this person." "Who?" Lin Dong and Tang Lian simultaneously raised their heads and looked at Mo Luo. "A person that came from the Eastern Xian region's Yuan Gate with the name Hu Yuan." Upon hearing that, Lin Dong's pupils instantly contracted. "Someone from Yuan Gate." Lin Dong's expression slowly became gloomy. Anything that was related to this sect would cause his calm heart to feel a great amount of churning murderous intent. Mo Luo slowly nodded. He was also to some extent aware of the enmity between Lin Dong and Yuan Gate. Hence, he was not surprised by this appearance of Lin Dong. There is indeed some problem with this Yuan Gate. Those three fellows from the Yuan Gate back at Sky Lightning Sea region had the devil seed hidden within their bodies. Lin Dong hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Devil seed, looks like the feeling I had back then was not wrong." Mo Luo's eyes slightly narrowed and was not too surprised. Back then, the Hu Yuan trio had been rather well behaved in front of him and did their best to hide the fluctuations within their bodies. Because all of his attention had been on the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, Mo Luo did not have time to concern himself with other matters. When he thought about it later on, he realized that there was indeed something amiss. "This sect is indeed a little strange," Mo Luo spoke in a low voice. The information he had was naturally not something that Lin Dong could compare to. Even though Yuan Gate was located in the distant Eastern Xian region, Mo Luo still knew about them to a certain extent. Unfortunately, Yuan Gate is not located in the chaotic Demon Sea. The hands of my Flame Divine Hall will have great difficulty extending to the Eastern Xian region. Some of the super sects there are not to be trifled with. Lin Dong nodded. The Eastern Xian region might not be as vast as the chaotic Demon Sea, but the 8 super sects had firmly established themselves there. They greatly disliked foreigners, and it was not an easy matter for anyone to interfere in the matters there. However, if this Yuan Gate is really related to the Yimo, it is likely that we will definitely come into contact with them in the future. A solemn expression flashed across Mo Luo's eyes. He had a monstrous hatred towards the Yimo. If the Yuan Gate was really in cahoots with them, he would all means to uproot them. What is the matter with Hu Yuan? Lin Dong inquired. I have very little information about this person. However, if Yuan Gate has really dispatched someone to fight for the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol, it is likely that he will be quite powerful. Both of you should be careful of him during the competition. Mo Luo looked at Lin Dong and Tang Lian as he spoke with a solemn expression. Understood. The Lin Dong duo nodded. Soon after, Lin Dong felt a headache. Regardless of whether it was the faceless person or that Hu Yuan from Yuan Gate, both of them were definitely extraordinary individuals. The appearance of any one of them was trouble, and currently the both of them had appeared together. Moreover, besides these two, the remaining top 5 on the rookie list were not softies either. Looks like there will really be much to see during this competition. The competition will begin in 5 days. Lin Dong, you should remain in Fiery Flame City during this period of time. If you have any problems, look for Lian. She manages the city's enforcement unit. You should also avoid causing too much trouble. Otherwise, it will not be fun to fall into her hands. Mo Luo laughed. Lin Dong was slightly startled. He immediately glanced at Tang Lian with a somewhat embarrassed expression. He never imagined that this lady was so valiant and was even managing an army-like force like the law enforcement unit of the Flame Divine Hall. However, Mo Luo had spoken these words a little too late. He had already been caught earlier. Tang Lian's pretty eyes glanced at Lin Dong as she spoke in a faint voice, I will not abuse the law for my own personal reasons. Regardless of who it is, anyone within the area managed by the Flame Divine Hall must follow the rules. Lin Dong choked a little in the face of this suddenly impartial lady. All he could do was to shake his head helplessly. An enchanting smile was suddenly revealed on Tang Lian's pretty face when she saw this bitter appearance of Lin Dong. Her slender hand gently patted Lin Dong's shoulder as she smilingly said, if you obediently follow at my side, I will guarantee that no one will dare offend you in this Fiery Flame City. Tang Lian swung her fiery red hair after her words sounded as she turned around in a free and easy fashion. That attractive back of hers appeared exceptionally domineering. Lin Dong was a little dumbstruck as he watched Tang Lian turn around and leave. In his heart, he felt that this woman was really bold. Ha ha. Mo Luo involuntarily laughed out loud upon seeing this and teased, what do you think? This first disciple of mine is sufficiently formidable, right? Since both of you are of similar age, why don't you get together? Although you have boundless prospects, Lian is also not an ordinary lady. She is well matched with you. Lin Dong immediately withdrew in defeat upon hearing this. He hurriedly bid Mo Luo goodbye and fled miserably. Mo Luo's laughter was even louder as he watched Lin Dong flee as quickly as a rabbit. It was a long while later before his laughter stopped. He looked in the direction that Lin Dong had ran and said, First Elder, what do you think? The space within the large hall slowly became distorted after Mo Luo's voice sounded as an old man in fiery red robes appeared out of nowhere. He looked outside the hall and said, Shu Xiu is very powerful, while that Hu Yuan has not shown himself even till now, hence we do not know his strength. If Yuan Gate is really in cahoots with the Yimo, I'm afraid that this Hu Yuan will be quite powerful. It is likely that Lian's strength is insufficient to stop these two individuals. As for Lin Dong, although he was able to receive 3 strikes from Chief, it can actually only be considered 1 strike. He had used all of his trump cards during that strike and used cheap tricks for the other 2 strikes. However, such tricks will definitely not appear during the competition. Mo Luo nodded slightly. Lin Dong had relied on the Thunder World's strength to receive his 2nd strike, while the 3rd strike was received by that ridiculous ancient divine flame tablet. An object that was coincidentally immune to the power of the blazing ancestral symbol. Hence, his strongest third strike had not caused Lin Dong any harm. However, these two methods would not be of much use during the competition. Hence, it will be quite difficult to rely on the both of them to stop Xu Xiu and Hua Chen. Mo Luo gently pressed his finger on the backrest of his chair and asked, "Then what does First Elder suggest?" "We can take additional precautions. That little elephant King Juzi is quite strong. If we can obtain his help, it will be an additional insurance for us," the red-robed old man said. "That little fellow from Thousand Manifestation Mountain," Mo Luo thought for a while and laughed. "That little fellow does possess some strength. However, I can only get Xin Lian to speak to him about this matter. That fellow has always fancied her. Still, she will end up grumbling if I get her to do this. Then let's do it this way." Mo Luo waved his hand and made up his mind. Soon after, he lifted his head. Those crimson-red eyes of his surged with a chilling light. "This time, I am going to properly take care of those wretched creatures. Using this opportunity, it is also time to allow the various experts and factions in this world to notice the dangerous thing hidden in the darkness." Lin Dong discovered that Tang Xinlian, who had been extremely domineering earlier, was seated on the stone stairs when he walked out from the hall. Her slightly curly fiery red hair scattered downwards, outlining her alluring figure. There were many fully armed figures around the hall. Their footsteps would subconsciously slow as they walked past the beautiful fiery red figure. It was possible to see the yearning in those eyes under their armor. "Come and take a seat." Tang Xinlian casually waved her hand as her lovely voice was transmitted into Lin Dong's ears. The latter hesitated for a moment, before walking over and sitting beside her. At this moment, Lin Dong tilted his head to look at Tang Xinlian. The heroic and valiant aura of hers had weakened slightly and a rare gentleness had replaced it. Such a demeanor caused one's heart to pound when it appeared on her. "This plan of master is extremely dangerous, those Yimo are very powerful." Tang Xinlian fondled a thread of hair as she softly stated. Lin Dong nodded slightly. Tang Xinlian was clearly quite knowledgeable about the Yimo. It was likely that she had learnt about them from Mo Luo. From Tang Xinlian's voice, it was possible for Lin Dong to detect a trace of worry. No one knew if this plan of Mo Luo would attract a calamity that could destroy the Flame Divine Hall. Since those Yimo possessed the strength to destroy the Lightning Cave dwelling, just the Flame Divine Hall alone would clearly be unable to match them. The Yimo will surely make a move. However, they will likely not come pouring out of their nest. If they did, they would be completely revealed to the world. At that time, the top experts in this world will likely cooperate again, Lin Dong said. "Those wretched creatures, it is best to kill all of them," Tang Xinlian muttered. Lin Dong was slightly startled. Although the Yimo was the common enemy of everyone in this world, it appeared that the hatred in Tang Xinlian's words was deeper than normal. "My clan had once sealed an Yimo due to our ancestors, and we have always secretly looked after the seal. However, my clan was massacred by a mysterious person when I was still very young. No one other than myself remained. In the end, the sealed Yimo was rescued, and my master rescued me from a pile of corpses." Tang Xinlian smiled slightly. That smile of hers left one with a heartache. "I'm sorry." Lin Dong sighed. She did not expect that this seemingly heroic and valiant lady would have such a sad story behind her. Tang Xinlian shook her head in an unconcerned manner and said, "Regardless of what happens, I will protect the Flame Divine Hall. I will use all means to exterminate them if the Yimo dare to destroy it." Lin Dong gazed at Tang Xinlian's pretty face. The determination to protect the Flame Divine Hall caused the expression in his eyes to become a little dazed. When he was in the Dao sect back then, there was also a young lady who had thought of the sect as something that she would protect with her life. Back then in Unique Devil City, it was that same girl who had chosen to place the thing that she had once decided to guard with her life behind someone called Lin Dong. Lin Dong's lips tightly pursed. An undetectable emotion flitted across the depths of his eyes. He deeply inhaled a breath of air and smiled as he replied, "Tang Xinlian, don't worry, those wretched things will sooner or later be driven out from this world." Tang Xinlian nodded heavily upon hearing this. She laughed softly and once again patted Lin Dong's shoulder. after which she walked forward in a graceful manner as a lovely laughter was heard. Should you encounter any trouble in this fiery flame city, you will only have to say my name. Additionally, let us have a happy cooperation during the competition. Lin Dong looked at the lady who had regained her valiant and easy aura as he chuckled and slowly nodded. This video will end here.